Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back for another episode 100 and something. This is Frank Agin, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. I appreciate those of you who have subscribed, those who have tuned in, those who have referred others. Today we're going to talk about something that I stumbled on in a book called Option B. Option B was written by Sheryl Sandberg. I'm not going to review the whole book. For those who have listened in the past, I don't review books. I talk about various aspects of books. But Option B was a book written by Sheryl Sandberg. Who is Sheryl Sandberg? Sheryl Sandberg is the Chief Operating Officer of Facebook. Before that, she had a stint with Google, and then she was also staff with the United States Treasury under Lawrence Summers. A lot of this I'm getting from Wikipedia. But at any rate, Sheryl wrote the book Option B, and she's written other books. The book that she is most known for, my understanding, I guess my opinion, what I hear a lot about, is the book Lean In. And what Lean In is a book about women empowerment. My wife read it. My wife referred my daughter to read it. It's a book basically encouraging women to empower themselves and to take a seat at the table and to lean in and be part of it, and don't wait to be asked to be part of whatever it is. Corporate America, organizations, your community, whatever. You are a woman and you have every right to whatever position you would like to have. Go for it. So it's an important book, but I believe it's her second book, Option B. Option B kind of chronicles her life following the sudden death of her husband. In 2015, for those who don't know the story, in 2015, her husband, David Goldberg, died suddenly. They were on vacation in Mexico. Their kids weren't with them. They have two kids together. He was working out. I believe, if I recall from reading the book, he had a massive heart attack. He had a massive episode working out on the treadmill and died. And a lot of the story is about coming back from that. Actually, the full title of the book is Option B, Facing Adversity, Building Resilience, and Finding Joy. And she co-authored it with Dr. Adam Grant, who is with Wharton School of Business. But at any rate, it's a story, not a story, but it sort of details her coming back from this tragic event, losing her husband, the love of her life, the father of her children. It was certainly very traumatic, and she talked about coming back from this and how she came back from it. I forget how I got the book. I know I have a copy. I've since given it away to somebody who had lost their spouse, but I was referred to it in reading another book, and while it talks about her coming back from the setback, the tragedy of losing her husband, it kind of refers to other tragedies as well. We might not go through a tragedy like that, but we all suffer tragedies, dealing with the death of a parent, dealing with illness in families, dealing with the loss of a job, dealing with the loss of a business. There could be lots of things where we would need to, where we face adversity, where we need to kind of build resilience and find joy in our life, even though we have these down moments. But it's a good book. Read it. Hopefully you're not dealing with a tragedy such as Sheryl's gone through. If you have, it's highly recommended. But even if you haven't, and I can't say that, I have minor setbacks. There was no milk this morning. Minor setbacks in my life. I'm blessed. I'm grateful for all that I have. But it still was a good book because it talks about building resilience, and something that it's never too soon to start building resilience. But at any rate, there was one point in the book that I really thought was, I took notes on. I thought it was very interesting. And she said that, in going through this emotional time with her husband, that there was just this great outpouring of support from family and friends, a tremendous outpouring of from family and friends. And she's very well known, very well connected, coast to coast. She grew up on the East Coast. I actually went to high school in Miami, according to Wikipedia, and now lives in the West Coast with Facebook. So she has contacts all throughout the United States, and people really came to her aid with respect to this. And hopefully nothing like this happens to anybody out there listening. But if it does, hopefully you have the same sort of outpouring of support that she had. But what she did was in talking about the support, she had people who would come to her and say, listen, Sheryl, if you need anything at all, please contact me. I'll do whatever I need to do. Just let me know what you need. And when I first read that little caption, I'm like, wow, that is really neat. That's very generous of somebody to offer anytime, anywhere, give me a call. And what Sheryl went on to say in that chapter was, that's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing either. Let me explain, or I'll explain as Sheryl explained in the book, because again, when I first started to read it, I had to reread again. Am I reading this right? It's not a good thing? How noble of somebody just to step forward and say, anything, you need anything, call me middle of the night. Wow, to me that seems really noble. And I guess it is, but what Sheryl went on to explain in the book is that when you throw something out there to somebody like that, open-ended, if you need anything at all, you put the onus back on them. You put the onus back on them to come forth with something that they might need. And in thinking about it, she's right, because there are a couple things I see as being wrong with that. One, we all, to an extent, kind of have this Lone Ranger mentality, is that we're not good at asking for things. We're not good at seeking help. And so when you kind of throw that out to people, anything at all, you need them to sort of be vulnerable and admit, hey, I've got a weakness here and I need your help. And that's not always an easy thing, but when you put somebody on the spot with respect to, hey, do you need anything at all, it kind of puts a burden on them to figure out what it is that I need. What is it that I need help with? And that can be taxing. Certainly in a traumatic time where you're going through a tragedy, the loss of a loved one, or a significant sickness in the family, or the loss of a job, or whatever it might be, there's a lot of stress there. And for them to be able to sort out in their mind exactly what they need is stressful. And I have to admit, I've done that. I've been that noble person, or at least intended to be that noble person. And in my heart, it's like I'll do what needs to be done, but I throw the onus back on them to, hey, let me know what you need, and I will come through. And I'd like to believe I'm genuine. I'd like to believe you're genuine about it. That may be true. It may not be true. It depends on what the ask is ultimately. But I've seldom had people come back to me, and it's always kind of made me curious. As if they don't need anything. Should I feel bad? Should I be offended? And the reality is no, I should be none of that, because I've put a burden on them and they just can't figure out what it is that they might need for whatever reason. And to be honest, I've been in situations where people have come at me and said, hey, listen, if you need anything at all, let us know. And I've never responded. So should those people be offended with me? No. I just can't figure out in my mind exactly what it is I need or how to ask. Am I asking for too much or too little? In the middle of the night, I need to talk to you. Is that too much? Is that an intrusion? Or do you truly mean that I can call you at any point in time? Or, you know what, I need you to take my kids for an afternoon or a weekend because I've got to go deal with this or that. Is that asking too much? And so it's, I can see where Sheryl Sandberg is coming from, in that when we have these blanket, hey, I'm willing to help, let me know what you need help with, anything at all, where people wouldn't necessarily respond to that. What she does, though, in the book is she makes a recommendation. She says, rather than coming at people and saying, hey, what do you need, anything at all, sort of a statement, come at them with a definitive, I'm going to help with this. I'm going to mow your yard. Don't you worry about mowing your yard. It will be done. Or, I recently had somebody pass away at my church. He was relatively young. Kids were all out of high school, but still relatively young, very well liked, not relatively, very well liked, passed away. And what the moms did was they put together a list of people for bringing food over. There was no ask, hey, we are doing this. We are doing this for you. Are there things that you like to eat, don't like to eat? Got that from them. And it's a traumatic time that they're going through. Keeping food in the house is not necessarily high on anybody's priority. And so it was a group of moms, not trying to be sexist. Moms are heroes. They came forward and they did it. They didn't really ask, hey, what do you want? And the widow didn't say, well, I need this, this, and this. I need meals for the next 2 weeks. They just decided they were going to do it. And so I see this as kind of being something that we can learn from in our networking worlds as well, because I do it from time to time. If you ever need anything, let me know. And expecting that somebody's going to come back at me, or people will ask me, hey, how can I help you? And expecting me to have an answer in that moment. And what I've learned from that, and what I'm trying to be better at, is not waiting for somebody to ask, but formulating things in my mind of things that I could offer them. Hey, listen, I'm going to introduce you to these types of people. Would that be good? Would this sort of opportunity be good? How about this list? I've got this list of names. Here's somebody, would this be a potential client for you? And really kind of taking more of the, I don't want to say the offensive, that sounds almost negative, but being more, I'm searching for the word here, being more intentional in trying to help them, and really thinking through, not putting the onus on them to tell me what they need, be vulnerable, tell me what you need, but looking at them and saying, and thinking in my mind, I guess, I bet you need this. This introduction, I'm going to introduce you to this person. Would that be good? This is why I see this would be a good introduction. Here's some information I want to give you because I think this would be good for you. And then from there, they can kind of let you know, yeah, that works, that doesn't work, or that was great, or that was horrible. But trying to be more intentional and trying to help people as opposed to waiting for people to come to me and be vulnerable and ask for things. So anyhow, just something to think about. I don't know that it changes anybody's world immensely, but it's certainly something to think about as you go about and work within your network. Finally, to wrap up, remember AmSpirit Business Connections. We have a unique franchise opportunity that involves helping small businesses become more successful. And this is done through a referral-based networking program. It only involves a couple hours a day in the early morning, a few days a week. And so it's a great opportunity for somebody to add a franchise onto what they're already doing. Attorneys, accountants, realtor, business coach, consultants. In fact, all of our franchisees do something else. So if you're interested, there's an email in the show notes, or we will include one in the ending of this program.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.